What's up guys? Today we're going to look at just how Diamond C has you covered on all things Hotshot. We're going to start with the FMAX 208HS, that's a non-CDL Hotshot trailer, all the way up to the SDX 40K air ride hydraulic dovetail. Let's jump into it. So starting out, we're looking at the FMAX 208HS, that's a non-CDL Hotshot trailer. If you've been following us, this trailer was just released not all that long ago due to popular demand. We did not offer a non-CDL version because the other trailers on the market, what most other manufacturers sell as a non-CDL trailer, is really not meant for the type of mileage that these trailers see in a year. I mean, it is very possible that this trailer sees 100,000 miles a year on the low end from non-CDL Hotshotters. And what most other manufacturers offer is a 40-foot trailer with 7K axles, traditional suspension, and then they just derate it to the 12,000 or whatever the customer needs. The downside about that is 7K axles, when they were developed decades ago, and the suspension that goes along with them. So the brakes, the axle tubes, and the suspension was just not meant for that kind of abuse, that kind of mileage. And so when we finally decided to release a non-CDL Hotshot trailer, we put a lot of thought into it in making sure that we put out a product that the non-CDL guy could buy or gal could buy and would be happy long term. The brakes are going to last longer. The suspension is not going to prematurely wear out. It's going to last like it should. And so where we ended up was with a 208, that's 8K axles, and it is rated at 12,000 pounds GVWR, which pairs nicely with a lot of your late model 1-tons that rate up to 14,000, ultimately keeping you under that 26,000 pound threshold. Now I know, take a pause here because I know we'll get some comments and things. There are certain states that have rules about one trailer, like one towable trailer with over 10,000 GVW automatically requiring a CDL. That is fact in a lot of cases. In a lot of states, that's not fact. And so when you're talking about the majority, like this is a very, very popular combination. So you can either get it in a 12,000 rating or a 14,000 rating. The idea is you want to match the rating to your truck the best you can to have your GVW combined as close to 26 as possible, but not over 26, not 26,001, because then it throws you into CDL territory. So the cool things about the FMAX 208HS, it still comes with the new Kurt cushion coupler, which is a really nice feature, provides a much better ride. You know, the played out regular old couplers have been around for, again, decades, and nothing has been done with them. And you have this hard metal coupler on a hard metal ball on a rigid suspension on a truck, and it just doesn't provide a great ride. And so what we did was we got to work with Kurt. We helped them and inspired them. They developed for us this coupler that has a rubber cushion torsion technology in it that has pretty much a lifetime warranty on that rubber. Like it's not going to wear out. But what it does is as that trailer kind of bucks fore and aft going over like breaks in the concrete or bridges or hard spots, it absorbs a lot of that energy and really provides a much better ride. And it also has auto latch technology or auto latch functionality so that whenever you hook up, it makes unhooking and hooking up a lot easier. So in the FMAX 208, this one, it's got your box up front that's lighted inside, which all of the FMAX series has, but that's a great place for storage for different things. You'll notice on all three of these, when we're talking about Hotshot, it's an option, but we have the slide track all the way down the passenger side. So that's the ditch side. On our configurator, you can buy it either way. You can either have, well, you can actually have it on both sides, or my preference is putting it on the passenger side so that if you're on the side of the road retightening, you're not in traffic, you're in the ditch. So you'll notice all three of these have slide track, because when you're needing the versatility of a Hotshot rig, like you never know, a lot of folks may have dedicated customers where they're hauling the same thing over and over, but Hotshot in general, you may not know what you're hauling from one day to the next. You might haul, you know, a couple of trucks on this trailer one day, then the next day you're hauling general cargo and freight. So 4-inch straps on the ratchet is great for general cargo and freight, maybe hauling long pipe, things like that. But you have the rubber on stake pockets, and 2-inch straps is what a lot of folks would use from the rub rail on a lot of most of your vehicles, and then other types of cargo. So, and then also you have chains, right? Because you use chains and boomers depending on what it is. So you'll really want to do research in terms of, you know, what you're hauling and what is the appropriate securement for that cargo, whether again it's equipment, autos, cars, or long material pipes, pallets, things like that, you want to make sure. So this one also has the full width locking chain rack across the back. So the cool thing is when you open that top piece, you can hang chains and binders all the way across the back there. You got your catch can on the bottom. That's an option as well. The cool thing about the FMAX 208HS, we streamlined it down. It's available. This one is a straight deck, so let's walk to the back. We'll talk about that a little bit. This one's a straight deck. Straight deck is meant for, primarily for bulky cargo, long material, things like that. Not as much for hauling vehicles and equipment, because you don't have anything supporting the rear of the trailer when you're loading. So it does have a set of 8-foot slide out ramps that help get you out of a bind. Like if you need to load a vehicle or something like that, you can, or say it's a smaller tractor or things like that, you can get on the trailer and get you out of a pinch. But those ramps are not really meant for hauling equipment and autos on the daily. So that is more for get me out of a bind. This straight deck, it also keeps the weight down as much as possible. So this one weighs in at like 74-60, I think it is on the tag. If you had max ramps, it'd be a couple hundred pounds, few hundred pounds heavier than the straight deck. So what the idea is, especially in non-CDL, it's all Hotshot, but non-CDL, you want to rate, I mentioned a few minutes ago, as close to 26 as you can, but you want your combined dry weight of your truck and your trailer to be as low as possible. That way it gives you as big a delta or as big a payload as you can. So say my truck weighs 10,000 pounds, just for instance, the truck weighs 7460, call it 7,500. That means I am 17.5 truck and trailer combined. That means I have just under 10,000 pounds of payload that I can put on the trailer. So you want to keep the trailer as light as possible. Now, I will say, because we go with 8K axles, 17.5 wheels and tires, this trailer weighs a little more than those competitors that I was talking about earlier that have just the 7K axles, but it's a trade-off. Like, yeah, you get a few hundred pounds lighter in total weight, but do you want to be broke down on the side of the road? That is the difference, like in investing a little bit more, getting the heavier grade components and tires up front. That lighter weight and the cheaper trailer sounds pretty nice for getting going. But when you're talking about investing in a business and something that's going to last, this is the way to go. Like the heavier components, heavier duty components that are going to last longer, and a little bit of added weight is a good thing in this case. Let's see, what else about the 208? We talked about the max ramps. This one is available. Today we're looking at a straight deck. Our other two trailers have hydraulic dovetails. Max ramps is a very viable option for Hotshot. You'll notice going down the road, I bet max ramps are probably, gosh, they're probably 80% of Hotshot trailers are max ramps as a total. When it comes to Diamond C, it's about 50-50. It's about 50-60% hydraulic dovetail and then 50% max ramps. So the cool thing about max ramps, they are tried and true. They work really well. Ours are one of the easiest in the industry to flip. They don't have hydraulics like a hydraulic dovetail has, so it's a little more simplistic, and it is more versatile than straight deck. But it's going to add a couple hundred more pounds yet. So, but it allow you, if you did a 208HS with max ramps, it would allow you to be more versatile in loading equipment, much more specific for loading equipment and things. But you can still use the 40-foot part of the deck. So, again, I want to point out right quick, when we talked about two 8K axles, so we've got a 215, 17.5 wheel and tire combination. This trailer comes standard with the SRHD, which is a slipper roller heavy duty suspension. The beautiful thing about that suspension is the springs are 20% thicker, so they're a heavier duty spring. The hangers are a heavier material. It's just, again, it's actually built for long-term durability. And the other cool thing about it, it has rubber bushings built into the equalizer and into the front hanger, so that as the spring articulates, it actually absorbs some of that hard ride that your suspension normally would have. So not only is it going to last longer, it's actually going to ride better. You take SRHD, combine it with that Kurt cushion coupler, and you actually have one of the best riding non-CDL trailers on the market, bar none. And another thing that I want to point out, which is across all the FMAXs, but particularly on this one is important, is the engineered beam technology in the frame. Most of your other Hotshot trailers, non-CDL Hotshot trailers, would be a 12-inch by like 14-pound frame, or 12-inch 16, something like that. And this is actually a 14-inch frame, so it's taller, but yet because of us having control over the material that's used in terms of thickness and on the web and the flange, we keep the weight down, but it's wildly stronger and it's going to last longer than those structural beam frames. Especially a lot of those other guys, they try and keep it light, but with a structural beam you can only do so much to it, so they go down in size in terms of the weight per foot, and it becomes not nearly as strong for like long-term durability as the engineered beam is. So moving on to the FMAX 212, it is definitely the most popular Hotshot trailer for Diamond C, but abroad, when you talk about FMAX or talk about Hotshot trailers, not just FMAX, is that 12K axle trailers are probably the biggest segment of Hotshot trailers, like the most popular across all brands. And so it's same is true for Diamond C. The FMAX 212 is definitely the leader when it comes to Hotshot, because it is the CDL guys trailer, definitely. So we talked about the non-CDL group. This is the CDL guys trailer that is the best overall in between, provides the best weight, like in terms of payload, but is a step in between, and the cost is not as much as, obviously we'll get to when we get to like a 216, either FMAX or the step deck that we have. So the cool thing about it is it still gets the Kurt cushion coupler like we saw on the 208HS, but it is the most tried and true when it comes to engineer beam technology. This is where we launched engineer beam technology on back in 2017, early 2018, is this 210, 212 setup. And so the 212 has been running it since then, made tons of refinements to it. The FMAX, has a ton of options. The one we chose here is kind of the pinnacle of FMAX 212, with the exception of it doesn't have air ride. So we'll talk a good bit about suspension when it comes to the 212. You've got a few different options there on suspension. This one is a hydraulic dovetail. It's 40 foot overall. We do offer the 212 in a 44. So one thing to talk about or consider is total length rules. You've got your general kind of over the road rule for a dually pickup and a trailer is 65 feet tip to tip. Now, with that being said, it does vary from state to state. Texas is a 65 foot rule state. That being said, a lot of guys treat it like a non-moving violation, kind of a window tint ticket or something like that, that you can get cited for, but it's not a moving violation, so it's not going to go points on your record. It's not going to hurt you. But a lot of cops or police, when they pull you over for the 65 foot rule, it is just, they cite you and you go. So it just depends. Again, I'm not advocating for you to go over 65 feet, but just watch out for that. And it depends on the state you live in, and ask around, because again, some states are way harsher or way more in tune and pull folks over for over 65. That said, we offer this up to a 44, where you can actually take a F350, 450, 550, whatever your choice is, take the bed off, put a Hotshot bed or no bed on it, and then you can actually register your rig as a tractor, as an 18-wheeler, and then you can go up to 75 feet, I believe is the number. So a lot of folks do that when they want to run a 44-foot FMAX, and we do the 44-foot in the 212 and in the 216 FMAX as well. So there's a number of configurations and options. Again, lots of research. If you're getting into this, you want to do a lot of research. Odds are, if you're looking at a Diamond C, you've already done a little research and you're already in it and you're wanting to step up. And so you probably have a good idea of what you're looking at. So on the FMAX 212, it's a 16-inch beam. So we talked about on the 208HS a 14. We have a 16-inch main frame on the engineered beam. It's going to weigh about 16 pounds a foot, which is a really important thing. I think 16.6 pounds a foot average, versus the industry standard in a 212 application is going to be a 12-inch tall beam by 19 pounds per foot. So what does that mean? That means that we're almost 3 pounds, 2.5 pounds a foot lighter per beam, per foot than your industry standard structural I-beam gooseneck. Again, what does that mean to you? What that means is a 40-foot FMAX is around 1,000 pounds lighter when you look at all of the engineered beam components, the neck, the frame, everything, all the places where we have put the metal where it counts the most and where you need the structural integrity, but not excess. So a structural beam, other manufacturers, they take that structural beam, it comes out of the mill, and you can only do so much with it to get rid of weight. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and that's why we can actually shave so much weight out. So it's around 1,000 pounds lighter on a 40-footer like this than your structural beam competitor, which is really awesome, because that's you think about chains and binders and tools and all those things, it basically gives you that payload back that you would normally have lost on a structural beam trailer, or you just think of it, it gives you additional payload. So this one we've outfitted with the slide track and ratchets on the side, or the slide track for the 4-inch ratchets like we talked about over here. Other popular options would be a dunnage rack under the side. We'll see that on the step deck over there. But to be able to put your 4x4s and tarps and things in, extra boxes, man, there is a mile-long list of options of what you can do to outfit this to be the perfect Hotshot trailer for you. I know I've been talking and you're sitting there looking at this floor going, talk about the floor, talk about the floor. Like, that's the shiny object in here that we haven't said anything about. This one actually has the Allumatrax flooring that we just released just under a year ago. It's a really, really cool product, especially when you talk about Hotshot and wanting to keep the weight down. This, we talked about the main frame and this being around 1,000 pounds lighter, the trailer, than your standard, your competitor, your standard structural beam trailer. The Allumatrax floor is around 11 pounds per foot lighter than standard pine like we see over here on this 28HS or on our competitor's trailer. The cool thing about that, that's around another 400 pounds lighter than the other trailer. So you got the 1,000 pounds that we talked about on the frame and all, then you got another 400 here. That's 1,400 pounds. I'm no mathematician, but it tells me it's about 1,400 pounds lighter than the standard trailer. Now, of course, this floor, you want to watch it, like you don't want to put metal tracks on it. If you're hauling stuff with metal tracks, you need to be looking at oak floor going the other way, making it heavier, because oak is quite a bit denser than even pine. So you can, I've heard of guys putting mats down if they're going to be loading something with steel tracks. But when you talk about general cargo, tired equipment, rubber tracks equipment, like any of that, game on, let's go. The Allumatrax is great. It's got the top of these ridges are knurled for traction. So we've done some slip tests. Go look at it on YouTube, find those videos where we've done slip tests to show you in slick conditions, the best we could simulate that this is definitely still has plenty of traction. We get that question often. The other question we get is, what about for the guys that know about aluminum sitting on steel? They ask, what about a barrier? So every one of these cross members has a barrier between the aluminum and the frame to prevent galvanic corrosion from happening. And so we definitely did our research on that, which it would take forever because the powder coat is actually an insulator as well. But nonetheless, we put that barrier across all the cross members to make sure that it doesn't happen. So the Allumatrax, the only place you can find it is Diamond C. It's a phenomenal product. The cool thing is, you will never, unless you gouge it, you'll never replace it. In which we actually have seen a forklift driver loading a truck one day on one of the early aluminum Allumatrax floors we put in. The Hotshotter was picking up some pallets or something, and the forklift just stabbed it, brought it here to the dealership and close to Diamond C, and they replaced it for him, no sweat. So you can pop these screws out, replace a board if you need to, but dude, it's gonna last forever. Like, that's the reality of it. It is a forever floor. You replace a pine floor on this trailer once or twice, and you've paid for what the Allumatrax option cost. So moving back to the suspension and running gear on the 212. When it comes to suspension, the standard suspension on the FMAX 212 is the SRHD, like we talked about on the 28HS. It has the same rubber bushings. It's got the roller technology to where it is a beefier suspension than your standard run-of-the-mill slipper spring suspension. It is better. However, what I would say is, from my opinion, still, when you're talking about the amount of miles that Hotshot trailers are going to run, if it was me, I would still go up to this heavy duty adjustable suspension like what's on here, which a lot of folks know it as Hutch or HDSS suspension, but you can see the hangers up under here are, they're massive stamped steel. You've got some cast components, big track arms. The springs are really heavy duty. Where this suspension came from was from semi-trailer suspension. Somewhere along the way a few decades ago, someone said, hey, why don't we take this really heavy duty suspension off a semi and throw it under a gooseneck trailer? And that's what we've got. I mean, it was a 40K suspension, super heavy duty, and again, it's going to last a long time. Allows for some adjustment, which our standard suspension, the SRHD, allows for some adjustment and tracking as well. But nonetheless, long-term durability from the semi-trailer world, I would suggest the Hutch on the 212, and the 216 has Hutch standard. So this one we've upgraded to 17.5 aluminum outers. Aluminum outers is one of those things, like, it provides functionality, but it also looks good. The outer is about 50 pounds lighter than a steel wheel, and so it reduces your rotating weight out there on the end of the hub a little bit of efficiency gain there, but also it just looks really great on any color that you choose. So this one does have the Hutch under it, like we talked about. It's a 50-inch spread from center to center. The other thing that we do a lot of on FMAX 212s is air ride suspension. We'll look at the air ride on the 216 SDX, but that is an option. So you've got your standard SRHD, you've got Hutch, and you've also got air ride. The cool thing about the air ride, in my opinion, that I would do on a 40, so I said this is a 50-inch spread. When you go to the air ride, you can go to 60 and you can go to 72. We've got a 72-inch spread on the SDX over there. We get that question a lot though. Why would I want the spread? Won't it hurt my front axle? I'm dragging the axle. Well, think about it just like on a semi-trailer in over-the-road application. Like, most of the time you're running straight. You're not turning that much necessarily. You are pulling in places, getting loaded and whatnot, but it's not going to hurt that axle. But what it does do is it really helps distribute weight onto the tow vehicle better. That sounded like we're going to put weight onto the tow vehicle heavier. It actually takes it off of the tow vehicle and makes the trailer do more of the work, because that axle spread is covering a bigger surface area, if you will, of the trailer bed. And so as you load it, it's going to make the trailer do more work, reducing wear and tear on your tow vehicle by quite a lot. I mean, I've seen weight tickets, like rear axle, drive axle weight tickets, be reduced by a couple thousand pounds, and it actually makes the trailer pull better. The truck is going to last longer. It's just better overall. So this one was the hydraulic dovetail. I talked about a little bit earlier when you talk about loading configurations. On the FMAX 212, it's probably about 50-50 across the board, but even in Hotshot, when we talk about what most popular loading configuration is, max ramps versus hydraulic dovetail, it's probably, I say 50-50, it's probably like, call it not 50-50, that would be 100. So if you got, I'm trying to do the math, if you got 60% that are, let's just do this. We call it about 80 to 90% of the mix is hydraulic dove and max ramp, and the other few percent is going to be a straight deck. There you go. That's the easiest way to say it. We do a few straight decks in 212s, but mostly hydraulic dove and max ramp. So on the hydraulic dove, we released this design back in 2017, the end of 2017, early 2018. The cool thing about it is a 12-foot design versus a lot of the industry standard is 9. There are manufacturers that have went to a 12 and have pretty much copied this design. So knowing that this was the one that started it all, you know, we have lots of tribal knowledge of adjustments over time in making it even better. It's rated to lift and carry 10,000 pounds. So you can have 10,000 distributed on the dove, be able to lift it and then also carry it. That's a big difference. Some of your other ones, pay attention to how they rate their dovetails, because some of them, they don't want you loading it past like 4 feet from the hinge. Therefore, you've omitted about 5 feet to 8 feet of dovetail or of trailer deck to be able to load cargo. And that does you no good. It's basically a glorified ramp. But in this case, use the dang dovetail. You can use the whole thing. Just be smart. Don't load 10,000 pounds in the last 3 feet and then it ends up breaking and you call us mad. Like, it's 10,000 distributed the length of the dovetail. And we've seen it. You know, these things, again, we've built thousands of them since 2018, and it's all there. Like, they work really well. But if you put 10,000 back here in this last 3 feet and run several thousand miles, and you're going to Alaska and over crazy terrain, and I mean, it's not built for that. It needs to be 10,000 distributed, so just keep that in mind. And the closer you get to that hinge, the more powerful it is. Just a insider's baseball trick there is that the closer you get to that hinge, the more leverage you have to lift it up. Let's see, what else on the 212? So we talked about some of those options. Like, you can definitely do a winch in the neck. That's a very popular option because, again, if you don't know from day to day what you're going to get into, what's on the load board, you need to go pick up a dead truck or a dead skid steer or whatever. Like, it's very popular to have a winch mounted in the neck and to be able to pull it up. This one, so I should point out, this one has the Pacesetter edition. And so the Pacesetter edition, you see it shows on the badge here. It's the work lights, the hydraulic jacks, disc brakes, the 17.5 tires, comes with an additional storage box on the side. And the other thing is it comes with added lights down the side, added clearance lights. And that's a cool thing because when you're talking about running down the road at nighttime and being able to see in your mirror and visibility from others, those added clearance lights are a really nice touch. Let's see, I told you the weight on the FMAX 208. The weight on this one is right at 9,000 pounds. So you've got a 25.9 GVWR, which is the gross vehicle weight rating of the trailer. This one weighs right at 9,000 the way that it is outfitted. Of course, you can get that down with less options. Like if you went with a max ramp versus hydraulic dove, that's about 350 pounds lighter. If you went with standard jacks instead of hydraulic jacks, it's about 50 pounds lighter. So you can start adding some of those things together and get that weight reduced depending on the nature of what you're wanting to do, like the type of equipment you want to haul, the type of hot shotter you want to be. So this one does have, I forgot, the Pacesetter comes with the solar panel up top to help keep your batteries topped off. It does come with the extra box. Yeah. Cool, so now we'll move on to the SDX. Round 3. This is ultimately the baddest hotshot trailer on the market. The SDX 216, 53 foot overall, air ride. A lot of folks are like, is that even a hotshot trailer anymore? And I would argue that it is the evolution of hotshot trailers over time. Like, it's the pinnacle. And the reason for that is you would still use an F350 to 550, probably more in the 450, 550 range to pull it. You have to have either a flatbed or no bed. In most cases, they're running no bed or a hotshot style bed and registering as a tractor. But the cool thing about it is, you know, and you get the comment too, this is a good one. Just go buy an aluminum, you know, you can buy a semi-trailer for what that costs. You just go get a big rig. Well, at the end of the day, the maintenance, there's a couple of big points to me, and you may argue in the comments with me, but there's a couple of main points about the differences. And that is, number one, yeah, you can go buy a big rig for probably roughly the same cost, a used one, but the reality is the maintenance of that big rig is expensive. I mean, it's extremely expensive when it comes time to do, yes, you're gonna run many more miles than you can in a 1 ton or a 450 in a hydraulic dovetail or a SDX like this, you know, just on the truck side of things before oil changes and stuff. On the big rig, you can run more mileage, but man, when it comes time for overhaul, it is ridiculously expensive. Shop rates typically more expensive. Like, everything is more expensive when you talk about running semis than running a rig like this. And again, we can argue, tell me I'm wrong, that's cool. I'm good for, I'm down for the controversy. So nonetheless, this is an evolution. What we've got is the same frame. It's the same frame from right here to the back as the FMAX 216. So very similar to the 212, but the FMAX 216 is a 18-inch beam. So it's a taller beam, heavier bottom flange. It is a very robust frame because it can rate at either 30,000 standard or, like this one, rated at 40,000. which you've got a lot of your late model pickups, their tow ratings are getting up to 37 and 40,000 pounds. So it pairs very nicely with this setup. They're rated to pull it. And so again, the same concept in terms of engineered beam frame, being able to put the metal where it counts the most, but this is where you actually get the most weight savings. You know, we've seen numbers and compared that this SDX style trailer can be 2,000 to 3,000 pounds lighter than a competitor's SDX, which not many folks build it. This is special build or specific built for this Hotshot application in the longer ones. We just actually released these in a shorter version last year for you know, more general farm and construction, but nonetheless it was designed in mind in the beginning for this Hotshot crowd, and it keeps the weight down significantly. You're talking about, in most cases, you know, what other manufacturers would use on a structural frame would be like a 22 or 26 pound per foot frame, whereas this 18-inch beam is still only 17.7 pounds per foot average. So that means it is significantly lighter per foot than anybody that will even build a step deck like this, or the FMAX 216. This trailer is significantly lighter, keeping the weight down, payload high, is again all part of this Hotshot world. The cool thing about the step deck, the coolest thing, and why I say it's the ultimate, is because it gives you that 10 foot long by 8.5 feet wide, so that's roughly a little over 80 square feet of working space additional compared to a gooseneck in a Hotshot world. So you've got all of this area that you can put cargo, whether it's pallets. You can actually, it's got slide-in ramps. You see these 8.5 foot ramps, they slide out of the back of the neck. You know, you can put a truck up there and be able to haul 3 vehicles. I mean, the versatility of the step deck when you need to be, again, ultimate versatility as a Hotshotter, the step deck delivers that over and above what a gooseneck can do. Yes, you can put a deck on the neck on top of your gooseneck and be able to put some stuff up there, but it's not the same thing, because you're talking about it's 40 inches from the top of the gooseneck to the floor versus this is 22 inches, really giving you a sleek, very accessible extra deck. You've got the 4-inch ratchet rail all the way down the side of it as well. And then again, from their back, it's the same trailer as the FMAXs. You've got this one, I said, has the Dunna drag. You've got your added slide track all the way down. This trailer, we'll look at the weight here in a few minutes and kind of give you that rough comparison of what one like it would weigh. On the SDXs, it's still about the same. It's probably more like 70-30 in terms of the hydraulic dovetail versus the max ramps. But what I would say, like 95% or 90% of them have, compared to the FMAX stuff, is the air ride suspension. So because if a guy or a gal is already headed this way, going that step deck route, looking for the ultimate, they want the ultimate ride as well. And that's what happens when you get the Cush air ride suspension. So we can go look at the control box on the other side, but you've got these big galvanized arms. Standard, the Cush has the lift axle, so if you're running lightly loaded or with no load, you can actually lift this front axle off the ground, run a little more efficiently, and you don't have the tolls, because, you know, a lot of toll booths, you run through those and it depends on how many axles on the ground. So if you got it lifted, you know, it saves you some money in tolls as well. You got the galvanized arms, so you don't have the corrosion on those. But again, the cool thing about it, when you go air ride, you can actually get that suspension spread out there that really helps distribute the weight on the deck and not so much on the tow vehicle. Let's walk around to the other side. This shows you the hydraulic dovetail in the down position. So really sleek load angle. You've got a 12-foot long dovetail. It's about 12.5 degree load angle. Your load angle on your max ramps is more in the 14.5 degree, 15 degree load angle. So this makes it really nice for loading low profile vehicles and equipment. I've even seen folks take these and buy a set of race ramps and put under the edge and extend this, go out from 12 to 16, 12 to 18 feet and be able to load Corvettes and things. So you can actually get creative with it and get an even better load angle. So looking in this control box, it's got a lot of stuff going on. You would have, if this was a max ramp trailer, you would have a smaller control box that would have just the air rod components in it and not the hydraulic pump. But this one houses all of, again, that's why I call it control box, because it houses everything to operate the trailer in it. Right here, you've got your HydroPro brake pump. So we talked about the electric over hydraulic disc brakes. This pump is what drives those brakes. It gives you electric signal from the truck back to that activates this pump. And this is one of the best brake pumps you can buy. HydroPro is. There's a few brands out there, but HydroPro, the great thing about them is that they are extremely innovative and always listening to customer feedback to make their brake pumps even better. And they've paid very close attention to what the truck manufacturers are doing with the trucks each year that they come out with them, to make sure they're on top of connectivity, making sure that their pump works very well and seamless with all of the newest in the trucks. Cool thing I haven't talked about is the wiring harness on all of these trailers. We rolled a new harness last year. Got all these automotive grade plug and play connectors, which is really cool because it allows us to plug this pump in and from a service aspect, be able to unplug it. And if you ever needed to change the pump, or say there was an issue with one, your service center, your dealer can pop that out. Much more serviceable. That's throughout the whole harness, as we have those types of connections. So in this one, because it's hydraulic dovetail, hydraulic jacks, you've got 4-button corded remote, KTI pump. You've got this tough wireless that comes with it, which is really awesome. It works 200 plus feet away, which you don't need to be that far away, but you never want to even question range, on this wireless control. So both of those work in tandem. Air rods, we run dual batteries, group 27 batteries, so you've got plenty of depth for going down the road. You've got that insurance that your batteries aren't going to get low. So moving to the air ride components, which is where there's so much functionality, and it's really cool. This is a remote tank drain, so that you can actually let the fluid or let the condensation that builds up, you can hear that sound. It lets that out of the tank that is your air tank between the frame for the air ride. That's a really cool feature. The other thing this comes with is a air chuck that has a valve stem on the end of it. So you put it into this air chuck hole, whatever that's called, female part, and you can actually air up the system should your batteries ever go dead, or should the system be down for whatever reason. You can actually manually air it up. The other thing you can use this for is you can actually plug in a 1/4-inch air line to it and be able to run small air tools off of it, or air up a tire, which is really cool. So it can get you out of a bind. It comes with a water separator. So as anyone, if you've been around air compressors and whatnot, as the air runs through the system and the compressor runs, it creates condensation. So as that moves through the lines, this water separator actually catches it and automatically disposes of it, which is a really neat thing. These are all improvements that were made based off of customer feedback a few years ago when we were working with Cush to design this kit. You've got your tank pressure here, which is around 120 PSI is where it cuts off at. And so that's what you have to work with. If you're running your air tools, you got about 120 PSI. Load gauge, which is really cool, gives you a reference. If you look at this sticker here, you find out once your system's all aired up, you find out where base is. So it's called base 20. Then you go down to this list. Base 20 for tandem means I got 10/8 on the axles. So if you're going to pick up something as a Hotshotter and you want to know generally what you're putting on the axles, after they load you, your gauge is going to go up. You find your new spot for a tandem. Say my gauge goes up to 35. That means that I've got 18.4 on the axles, so 18.4 minus 10.8, you get 18.4 minus 10.8, I've put 7,500 or whatever, 7,600 pounds on the deck. So that's really cool. You got a dump feature, so if you want the ultimate in load angle, you put your hydraulic dovetail down, you pull the dump, it'll actually lower the trailer all the way out. It dumps all the air out of the bags. That's really cool. You got a digital voltage gauge. Oh my goodness, all the features. And the last thing is you have that lift axle I talked about, where you can actually pull that once it's all aired up and lift that front axle off the ground. Then you have a battery tester as well. Right now this one's sitting, all the way full. That solar panel's doing its job. So tons of functionality with the air ride. There is a lot there. Some guys just prefer to stay with that spring axle ride versus the air for simplicity. But man, if you've ever pulled an air ride trailer, like pulling this one, you wouldn't you wouldn't believe the difference in the spring axle versus the air ride in terms of just how smooth it is. And there's also some more specific jobs, specific loads that you can't get running spring that you have to have air ride. Like there's some military stuff that they designate or dictate that you have to have air ride to be able to haul that load. So air ride can get you some of those specialty jobs that tend to pay a little better. So what we're looking at on this one, I wanted to point out the weight. So we had went from 7,400 to 9,000 on the FMAX 212. And this one is going to come in with everything you've seen at 11,890. So another couple of thousand, was almost 3,000 pounds heavier. 3,000? 9 to 10, 10 to 11, yeah, almost 3,000 pounds heavier than that FMAX, which you see it's got a lot going on. Air ride is about 1,000 pounds in itself. The upper deck is a good bit of weight. It's got those ramps that slide in, and it is a 53 overall, so 43-foot bottom deck. So the bottom deck's 3 feet longer than the FMAX. So this is about like the pinnacle. Like you can't really put more on a SDX than this one. One way you could get the weight down considerably would be 500 pounds or so. If you'd have put Alumatrax on this one, it would have put us down in that 11,390 range. But again, you can control a lot of that by, if you go on our website and go to the build your own, you can put the options on it that make the most sense for you. There are a handful of dealers across the country that stock these SDXs in kind of the most common configurations, but you can build it the way that best fits you. Like if you were to take this SDX and take the air ride off, it would put you down into the 10.8 range or so. And then if you went no hydraulic dove and went straight deck, that's going to put you down in the 10.3 range. And so it starts getting considerably lighter. What I would point out as well, like this dealership has actually taken a trade-in on a competitor's SDX, a competitor's step deck for this kind of market. And that thing weighs 14,000 pounds. So it's, again, gosh, 2,000, a little over 2,000 pounds heavier than this one. And so it is still, for what it is, light and efficient, I guess is the right word. It's more efficient because of the engineered beam technology and the way that the trailer is designed. One more point I'll make, I had talked about earlier on the whole semi-trailer versus this. To get a hydraulic dovetail in an aluminum step deck for a semi-trailer is dang near impossible. You're talking about Landau type stuff, which gets considerably more expensive. And so to get the functionality like a hydraulic dovetail in that whole, like that argument, you can't really do it. And so that's why I deem this, when it comes to hotshot trailers, like the pinnacle of hotshot trailers. Hey Brian, under here. Oh, there you are. Yeah, one more thing before we close out the video that I wanted to point out. It does have storage up front. Most of your gooseneck trailers have storage. It's got storage up here, which is really cool. The other thing is it's got a built-in winch mount here with a fair lead cover. So that's a very popular option for this trailer as well. We mount the winch right here, or if you buy it after the fact, you can mount the winch yourself, pop the fair lead cover off, bolt your fair lead on the other side, and you're good to go. All right, guys, I hope that was insightful. I know this was a long-winded video, but hope this really helped kind of fine-tune some of those thoughts around hotshot. If you've got other ideas, comments, things I didn't cover, things that you think are important about hotshot, let's keep the conversation going. Drop them in the comments, and we'll do our best to respond and keep that going. Again, jump on diamondc.com. You can build out any one of these to fit the specific job and hotshot style that you have going and that you need to do. We'll see you on the road.